Greetings, everybody. Uat here for Serious Survival. This is the heavy shelter. This is basically almost like a log cabin. Um, the stuff that we're going to be using, the tools and everything and stuff. We got good old hand axe here. We have our Bushman tool right here. And so you can get these on Amazon. You can get, you can even order them through Walmart, Temu, just about every digital distributing, service, mail order. And then these you can buy at Walmart. These are a multi file. I mainly use these for wood and everything and stuff, and it's got different grades of teeth on there. So after I get done doing my cuts, I just kind of take and run a file across it, take off all the sharp edges a little bit here, so it's not gonna get any splinters or anything like that. So I want to kind of get this prepped real quick, so I cheated a little bit and used my Sawzall, but so these knobs sticking out here where there was branches, you got to get rid of them. So you get a good sharp axe. Again, don't go cheap on your tools. This is what's going to keep you alive. And this is Nestwing, and it's a lifetime guarantee. The blade is really super sharp. That's another thing too as well. You want to keep them sharp, so you got to get a good metal file and whetstone. You just trim that down off there a little bit like that, so just little knobs, and or you can cut them off with hand saw, little folding saw, portable saw, That's another thing I forgot to grab real quick was my saw. Let me grab that real quick, because this is another important tool that you're going to be using. I've mentioned this in my other previous videos and stuff. This little fold-up saw folds up into its own little sheath. You can put it in your backpack without it worrying about cutting anything, tearing your backpack apart. Or you can take and saw these. That's going to take a lot more time. So I just rather use my hand axe and just try to keep it flush against your pole. And it just and you can trim it down almost to where it's flush. Now you can work on this and make it real smooth. You can kind of cut a little deeper and stuff, make a groove for your other lodgepole to fit on. So it has like a little support there, and then I'll go through the dowels and stuff. Okay. Don't shoot it yet. Greetings, everybody. Uat here. So welcome to a segment of my Serious Survival shelter building. This is video number 2. This is a segment of video number 2. So this is going to be the fastest quick throw shelter that you can do. So we got our tarp here. It's been raining, sprinkling a little bit, but so first of all, you're going to find a place like this where you can string a top cord across tree to tree, making it as square as possible to the area that you're going to be pitching your tent. Now this is going to be the awning part. Now, before you set off on your ventures and stuff, you need to prep your tarps. And this is a 10 by 8 tarp. And on the one end, the long end, you're going to want to, before you set off on your venture and stuff, you're going to want to prep this tarp. So I usually have all my tarps already prepped for a quick throw situation. Now, these eyelets, I've already got ropes set in the eyelets. So all you got to do is just basically bring it up like so, tie it, and you're just wanting to get the tarp up where you got a little bit of cover. You can put your bag, your sleeping bag, or anyway your backpack underneath it, and where they can stay dry. And then you can just reinforce the tarp after you get done with this. And we'll go through all of this. All right. Move it on over. Okay, so there it is. All right. So now you got to do the corners. The corners are going to be connected to the tree that your line's on there. Didn't do a very good job untangling all this stuff before I shot the video. And so you're gonna put that in there, and I just use a slip knot here, a loop. Then I'm gonna make a farmer's cinch. Just make another loop there. Then I'm going to go up above this one here. Go back through. Now you have a way of, you can tighten up that rope. We're not going to make it too tight right off the bat. So set this up just temporarily a little bit, and then we'll adjust. This is part of your reinforcement here. And so now we're going to get another one here. We'll go ahead and go with the bigger one. Same thing. You have a make a loop on the end of this rope here. Do that up. Do the loop there. Again, we're going to go over the top cord there. Now you can loop it around that tree a couple times. You can wrap it around that tree a couple times if you'd like. That would help it from dropping down. If it was snowing, I'd definitely do that, because you don't want your cord or any of your reinforcements dropping down and that weight on the top of your tent. So we've got our farmer cinch. Now we're going to tighten it a lot tighter. There we go. Now you don't want to tighten. Okay, so we'll go ahead. You don't want to tighten it so much that these reinforcements are actually taking most of the weight on here. Now you can adjust this one too as well. So we're going to tighten that up a little bit more. So, because we want this holding the weight of the tarp, not the corner reinforcements. So we're going to go ahead and tighten this one. You tighten up really good. Then you just pinch it right here, keep it from slipping back on you. Put it through and pull back towards you, just like that. And you can do another one if you want. With a bigger rope, I just normally do 2 of them. Okay, so now that's loosened up now. Now you can tighten up the corners a little bit more. Just a little bit, just enough to keep it as straight as possible. You don't want to get these corners too awfully tight. And then, so with these tarps, I'm going to show you a trick how to reinforce the eyelets, because they're usually always the first thing to go on these tarps. And the tarp don't have to really be that old and used a lot for them to start. You just need a new tarp, reinforced, and a good windstorm. And that new tarp is toast. So when a windstorm comes along, good gust of wind, these eyelets are going to have plenty enough pressure on them already with the windstorm, so you don't want to tighten it too awfully tight. So now we got this basis. So now you can go back in here, grab your pack, put it back in here, you know, and your tent and everything, and it's not going to get wet. Okay. Now we have the tarp. We'll walk around this way here. All right. Well, as you can see, I'm not squared up like these trees here. And so the only thing we have to anchor to are these trees here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 2 eyelets here and actually we're going to use 3 of them. Let's just start with the center one first. Okay, so let's go ahead. We got a new skein of paracord here. Going to go ahead and make ourselves this loop here. Now it's really, really, really important to so basically the items that you're going to be needing, the tool you're going to be needing, the only tool you're going to be needing is a knife on this quick throw shelter, and a lighter, a big lighter. Always melt the ends, because what you have here is these little, go. Okay, so all you have is these little fibers here. Now, as you can see, this black sleeve is separate. So if you do not melt the ends here and connect them together, then either the sleeve or the nylon fibered rope strands inside are going to be the only ones that's going to be taking any type of the pressure, any type of the weight. So you definitely want to fuse them together. And when you buy them, you'll find that they've done the same thing in the factory. Okay, so we're probably going to be using 3 of these eyelets on these trees right here, and that one back there. But I'm just going to do the center one for right now, and I may end up moving it. So we're going to try to set this up as quick as possible. Now, I want the back lower than the front, but I want it above my tent, so it's not resting on my tent. So we're going to go right there with that, and we're just going to end up, so I'm going to make a farmer cinch here. I got plenty enough rope to play with. Sometimes, depending on how long your rope is, sometimes you have to go either that way with it in order to, because again, you don't want to put a ton of load of pressure on these eyelets. Now I'm only going to do 1 knot for right now, or 1 rope, and 1 knot on that farmer cinch. Okay, now obviously this one will have to be anchored with a stake. All right, this one we can actually connect to a tree. So I'm just going to tie this to a tree for a minute so I can see what kind of length I'm looking at. Okay, so if I put this over on this side here, that's going to work out really well. Now I want enough to where I can do my farmer cinch. So we're going to cut it about right there. Get out the old, now when it's really cold, and if you don't have these close to your body, you'll find that they won't light. And it's just like a bottle of propane. When it's really, really cold, and you'll see the frost build up on the bottle. But it's like the gas there's just not enough pressure in there because the cold condenses the pressure, the CO2, which like air pressure, and it just doesn't push out the propane. And so you think that the bottle's empty or your unit's going bad or something, and you got the valve all the way on and it's just barely throwing out propane on your burner or your heater. Another thing too as well is when you melt this, do not get your flesh, don't get this on your flesh, your fingers or anything, because it will stick. Okay, so we're going to undo this again. So make sure that end cools off enough to where it's not going to stick on your flesh and give you 3rd-degree burns. And 3rd-degree burns they will be. Okay, so there we go. Now again, we're going to want this a little lower. Make our little loop here. Like so. There we go. Okay, so we're going to make a cut here and I'll be right back with you. Again. All right, you ready?
Go.
Okay, all right, so Once in a while you get a skein. Doesn't matter the thickness of the cord, whether it's 1/4 inch or it's 1100. You'll get where it's got little flaws in it. You just burn that. You don't burn it too awfully much, just enough to keep that from fraying anymore. Just kind of rub your, that's good enough right there, because you don't want to burn through the rope and you don't want to damage the outer sleeve. You just want to get that loose stuff, and it's real fibered. Okay, one more other thing too as well before you melt these ends. You see how that the white nylon fibers hanging out past the sleeve. Go back here about 1 foot or 2 and pull it forward before you melt it. Then melt it. Okay. So you can see right here, I put a stake in there. Now, if you got a small hand axe with a flat head on top, on one side, you can use that. If not, you can just use a rock and make sure that stake's good and secure. And then we'll throw this back over by the fireplace. But looks like my cameraman's dog is trying to go play fetch, but it's a little too big. All right, so now we got the basic structure and reinforcement done on our shelter here. So we'll come around this way. Now what we're going to do is we're going to reinforce the middle. So I'm going to grab my cord and I'm going to come over here to this rope here that I've got tied here. I've only got one knot on there, so I'm going to put another one on. Then the loop that I made, all right, I'm going to tie one end of this other rope on there. Put just a couple grannies on there, that's good enough. You don't have to be an expert Boy Scout to doing all your knots. Unless you're... Then we're just going to go around this rope. That's going to help support the center. All right. Now, I'm going to loop it on this side of that tie, of that rope there, and then loop it on the other side. That way, it's not going to be going back and forth. All right. And then I'm going to just put another one on the main line there. Now, we can put a pole up to reinforce that, or we can also put a pole right at the base of, right at the front of your tent, and we can connect it to this rope here, which we will be doing on the next segment of this video. But I'll show you what you need to do with your pole, because you don't want it to damage your tarp. But once you get that set, you can use the pole to help you in and out of bed when you're old men like us. All right, we'll see you on the next segment. Okay, so if you don't have a wood file, a little wood file like I showed in my tools and stuff, then you can use a rock as a piece of like sandpaper. And you want to go around these edges. And you want to get all those burrs, points, and if you might have to peel some pieces off, but you just want to go around that, and you just want to kind of grind those sharp edges off. All right. Now the thing about it is a lot of people think, well, if I made a point, well, no, because the wider the surface area up here, the less pressure it's going to be putting on the point of contact with your tarp. Now this one could actually be a little longer, but it's going to be a good example. Okay. Now we're going to take another piece of rope here. So being how this is so small, we're probably going to end up putting it back here a little bit further, okay? Now you can take your knife and carve some notches in there, but if that's not what you're wanting to do, then we're just going to tie another granny knot around this line here. Now, we're going to take and wrap that around just like that. See that? All right. We're going to take, just like you was making a bow for your fire. All right. Then we're going to take this here. All right. And we're going to reinforce that around there. Now the tarp's going to come down and rest on top of there. All right. And you're just going to secure this. Now with this granny knot, I'm going to go twice around instead of just once. Just like tying military boots. All right. So see, that's gonna be rested on there, okay? All right. So that, like I said, that could have been longer. We could have put it up here, and we may just do that. We may find another one and put up on top and take that one out. But because you're going to be wanting to set your tent back enough to where you have a little awning, to where if you have a little stool or you have a log, you know, part of a trunk of a tree that you can sit on, or a log that you can makeshift a bench on. You can sit out here, don't have to worry about getting wet. You're out away from your tent. Your tent's, you know, under the tarp. You're staying dry. All your stuff is dry. And you can enjoy yourself while it's raining. And all your stuff is dry. So we'll see you on the next segment, and we'll find a log that's a little bigger. So welcome to another segment. Now, we're getting more into the more technical reinforcements of the quick throw. So at the beginning, when I set just up the tent, or anyway the tarp, without any other reinforcements as far as lodge pulling, that was just a simple, quick, you know, shelter throw. Now we're getting in a little more technical reinforcements and stuff. So you want your pole hang stuff just a little bit above where you got your main line across in front. And then we're going to put it right there. Now, with my saw, I'm going to cut some notches in here, and I'll be getting back with you. Okay, so we went from just using the ropes and tarp to make a shelter from like rain and even light snow, to actually then putting up some reinforcements. Now, the corner, I ended up having to put a pole up. I ended up drilling a hole through the top. If you don't have a pole, then you can just tie it or intertwine it like I showed you in my previous video, and then staking it down. What this corner was too low, and it was going to allow rain to drip too close to the tent. And so, you know, we don't want any water on our tent, a lot of water. Remember, they're not waterproof, they're water resistant. So I had to prop this corner up to where I could get a little more height. And your height is also going to give you more of a distance. Your tarp's going to be away from your tent. The lower it is, the closer it gets. So this is what I consider to be a light reinforcement. I got the pole in the back there, and got the pole in the back there, and they're These ones don't have any holes drilled in them. I cut a little slot up there. I carved out a little slot up there for the rope to go through to kind of give it some stabilization, you know, back and forth, and it's sturdy that way there. It's also a nice pull for us old men, and probably women too, you know, absolutely, to be able to, you know, grab a hold of and stabilize ourselves getting out of that tent, crawling out of that tent. So but then we're gonna build next, we're gonna build an A-frame structure, and so I'm gonna take this apart and I'm gonna show you how that's done. We're gonna be doing a frontal A-frame structure. So I got through shooting a video and stuff on this structure here. I ended up taking out the back pole and the front pole because we're going to be doing a frontal A-frame structure. Now this is going to be reinforced a little better, so it's going to be a structure that can be short time or longer time, you know. You know, and the thing about these structures is you can just use your imagination and build onto it. So, and we'll be discussing that here soon. But what I need to have you do is when you are getting your deadfall and, you know, pine trees, put out good lodgepole like this right here. But you got to remember, you're wanting to preserve their gear, and that's including tarps. Reminds me of my younger days. And anyway, you want to make sure that, so I'm holding my axe up where I've got more control over it. It's not so top heavy to where it can swing down. You want to make sure, and it's sharp. This is a really good axe, and like I said, don't go cheap on your tools, because this is a really sharp axe, and it doesn't take a lot more heavy stuff to trim off these burrs, these branches and stuff. They break off and they become really sharp, and they can just tear up your tent, your tarp. And I just take little chops. I'm not going to get crazy with this. I don't want to split my leg, and you know. And then I'll take a rock and I'll go over this and kind of sandpaper them down to where they're smooth. If you have that file like I got, which I'll probably end up actually using, that multi-course wood file, then use that. You want to get these all off, down to where they're not going to be, you know, and what little bit is still sticking up, like I said, you can, you know, round off the edges and stuff to where they're not sharp. It's not going to tear your tarp. It's not going to poke holes into your tarp. So we'll talk to you when we got this structure in the process of building up.